Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new, awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome to Total Truth Show, episode 87. Today we're going to chat about the truth about a chemical-free lifestyle. We've got my amazing co-host from San Diego, Ken Kleinberg. How are you today?
I am doing amazing.
Fantastic. And we have an amazing guest with us who I haven't seen for a few years. And it's interesting that Ken connected with Shari. So a little bit about Shari before we start. Now, she is a dedicated advocate for the Be Me movement, which is better me every day while still being me, and an enthusiastic health explorer, offering guidance on a journey to a healthier, more organic lifestyle. Her personal transformation journey demonstrates the possibility of improving health and well-being without compromising principles. Her approach is grounded in her unique STEPS formula and neuroscience, focusing on ease and affordability, and is designed to empower and support, always keeping it real with unwavering honesty. Shari emphasizes progress over perfection and invites you to join the Be Me movement, where each day is an opportunity to become a better you. Welcome to the show, Shari.
Hello, thank you for inviting me on. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. And also welcome to everyone who's joining us live right now. I can see Darlene Geiger's here on Instagram, Jill Smith, Nurture Connect Play, Don Martin on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're joining us. Welcome. We do like to make this show interactive. So if you have any questions as we're going along, then please pop your questions into the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from in the world as well. We always love to know that as well. Now, Shari, your journey, I'm fascinated by your journey. I know you have quite a past and quite some things have happened to you. So how did you come to do the Be Me movement? Why is this so important to you?
So one of the things I've found in my own journey is that sometimes things seem insurmountable. You might have a massive change that you know you need to make, but when you think about it, okay, so for instance, when my journey started, I was over 180 kilos. It started out as a weight loss journey. And if I ever had to think about the amount of weight that I felt I needed to lose for good health, it was at least 100 kilos, maybe more. And if I was to think about that, that just seemed too hard. And so I realized that to be able to make changes, I needed to start small, and I realized that it needed to be really small. Those steps needed to be really small. And so I went on a journey. It started as a weight loss journey, turned into a weight release journey, turned into a health journey in the end. And the health journey is something that I'm still on. I'm still on this journey. I'm sure I will be forever on this journey. Actually, I know I will be forever on this journey. And along the way, I realized about the amount of toxins and things. When it became a health journey, my eyes were open to the amount of toxins and things that were allowed to be in the foods on our shelves, in the products on our shelves, and in our environment that people just don't think about. They don't know about. It is endless, and it can seem really overwhelming. So again, when I started on that journey, the chemical-free, the non-toxic, the organic journey, I realized that for me to actually make changes, I needed to go back to the very small steps, because once I became aware of it, it actually took me probably a good 12 months before, 6 to 12 months before I actually made a change, because it seemed so overwhelming. I was just like, where do I start? I have no idea where to start. There's so many things. So that's why I came back to the small steps, and that's where you start, and you just keep going one small step over time. The being me is that small step is gonna depend on you. It's not dependent on anybody else. You are unique. You like different things. You have a different set of circumstances. You have different family scenarios, different budgets. You are different in every way to anybody else. So the small step, it's this one size fits all approach never works. It won't ever work, because you are not the same as your neighbor or your brother or your sister or your mother. You're just not. So that's where the Be Me came from. And also just being a little bit better, taking the pressure off ourselves. We have this, a lot of people seem to have this belief that they just need to try harder. But I say, do you need to try harder, or could you find a way to make it easier? And what is the way for you to make it easier? Because that's going to be different depending on who you are. So it's about taking one small, better step towards a better you as often as you can, and not worrying about anybody else.
Yeah, I love that. Inch by inch, everything's a cinch is one of my favorite sayings.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, inch by inch, everything's a cinch. And if you think about it with weight, and you know, we say weight loss, but people, you know, we don't like to think of losing anything, right? So weight loss is not a great way to say, you know, I want to lose weight, because people generally they'll put on 10 kilos, lose 10 kilos. You know, we tend to oscillate 10% either way, generally, with our weight, in general, unless we deal with, you know, underlying issues, and unless we do, you know, do it step by step. And I know I've been on this journey too, Shari. You know, I put on weight, lose weight, you know, and it's tended to go through a bit of a cycle. Whereas Ken, on the other hand, you know, Ken, why don't you share your story for those who don't know about how you were massively overweight and how you've shed the weight and now and kept it off for 6 years. So could you share a bit of yours?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you see me looking over here, so I have a new fun thing for those of you that are watching on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you're watching. So if you see me looking over here, I actually have a secondary screen over here now that I'm looking. So I'm also multitasking, pulling up things as Shari was sharing. Because I resonate with so much stuff that Shari was sharing, especially in the aspect of the journey. And I'll get to my story in a minute, especially with the aspect of the journey being one step at a time and having that be sustainable. In my program and the framework that I use with my program, sustainability is one of the biggest words that I use often, because it's a word that connects to so many other different things that I teach. So in sustainability, when you're on a health or a weight loss journey, and I use weight loss because that is the way my audience is going to connect. That's the word, that's the marketing word that's going to be used commonly. So for a particular time, I tried using the weight reduction or weight release and everything else, and it just got too confusing to remember, okay, when I'm marketing, I'm using weight loss, and when I'm talking to my clients, I'm using this. So I don't I don't really pay attention to the words that much anymore. But sustainability is the key. And the reason for that is because you want it to be sustainable over the long haul. What do I mean by long haul? I mean a year or two. An example of that is when you're adapting in new changes and new habits to your journey. You want to sit back and ask yourself, okay, these adjustments and these changes that I'm making, can I stay consistent with these, and are they sustainable for me to stick with for the next year or two? Why the next year or two? Because number one, I want you thinking that way. It doesn't mean that it's going to take that long, but I want you thinking that way because those new changes, new habits need to be, they must be sustainable enough for them to, long enough. You must stay consistent with them long enough for them to sink in and become part of who you are and automatic. That is actually the key to making lasting changes, is having it be sustainable over the long haul, those changes and habits. So it sinks in and it becomes internal. That, for me, that is how I've been able to keep my weight off for 6+ years. So into my story just a little bit here. 13 years ago, I found myself at the heaviest weight of my life. I knew I needed to make some changes. Going on a diet was not something that resonated with me. In fact, I going back and thinking the way I felt at that time, I identify with the way Shari felt, actually, which is very overwhelmed. You know, I knew I needed to lose weight, but the whole idea of going on a diet or following a plan or going by some list or whatever, it just did not appeal to me in any way, shape, or form. I didn't want to have my life disrupted. I loved my schedule. I loved my life, and I loved, what I did. I did not want to have that be disrupted. But I knew I needed to lose weight. So I literally embarked on a journey, and I made the decision that I was going to lose the weight, but I was going to do it my way. I wasn't going to follow a certain plan. I wasn't going to follow people's guidances or anything like that. Now, do I recommend doing it that way? No. Because honestly, my journey was a little bit of a mess because I didn't know what I was doing. I just made changes here, made changes there, made changes here, just tweaked this, tweaked that. Giving an actual description on what exactly it was that I did, I can't necessarily give this specific. I can give you the big picture and tell you, hey, here's why I was able to lose 62.5 pounds. And here's why I've been able to keep it off for 6+ years now. It's not because of some magic pill. It's not because of some magic diet. It's literally the philosophy of what I teach. It's literally because every step, every change, every habit had enough time to sink in and become internal, part of who I was. That is the key, my friends. That is the key to permanence in your, as Shari says, weight release journey. That is the key to permanence in your health journey. And when you finally do reach your weight goal, like Shari also said, the journey never, ever, ever stops. It hasn't with me. It's been 13 years. I'm still on a journey. I'm still making discoveries. I still do deep dive research, and I adjust my own lifestyle sustainably, but I adjust my lifestyle accordingly. And, there are still some things that are being weeded out of my life, things like toxic cleaning products, different things like that. These things are a slow process, but we are moving in that direction. So anyhow, that's a bit about me. That's a bit about my story. I resonate with everything that Shari says, especially with the sustainability, the small changes, the small habits, and the small tweaks.
And you lost how much weight over that time?
62 and a half pounds.
62 and a half pounds, which is in kilograms, 62 pounds is 2 kilos. What's that? That's 28 kilos. So 28 kilos, for those who understand kilos versus pounds, that is a hell of a lot of weight. That's about a third of my weight. I'm about 80 kilos or so. So that's a good chunk, and to keep it off. So what were some of those small steps that let's go to Shari. Now, Shari, you've been, up and down as well on this journey with your weight. So,
Yeah.
So what are some things you've done that have been positive, and what have some things you've been done that haven't been so positive, and how have you helped to shift some of those habits?
Well, I'll go to one of the not so positive things. So when my journey started, so the weight loss part of the journey and the weight release part of the journey, I lost 100 kilos. And I did that by sticking to, and it's only because what I knew at the time, I did what I had been told by many, many people in the industry. It's calories in versus calories out. It is not. It is definitely not. However, that's what I knew and that's what I did. So I actually stuck to 1,300 calories. Please don't do that. Please do not do that. You will get results in the short term. You will not be happy sticking to 1,300 calories. And it actually screws up your body in a big way.
Yes.
So, I'm paying the price for that now. And if I had known, I don't know that I would have done that if I had known. So, and I actually, I've written some books, and I actually tell people that in my book. This is the way that I did it. I do not recommend anybody doing that. I've learnt so much more as it turned into a health journey. I have learnt so much more. But it is what it is. And what I like to tell people is I've done the hard yards to make it easier for you. I wanted to make it, it's still going to be, there's still going to be challenges. If you've got health changes to make, I'm not saying it's going to be a bed of roses and it's all going to be a walk in the park. But I can make it as easy for you as possible. So that's one of the biggest things that I will say was a negative. Some of the positive things is that I've learnt that it's not about the weight on the scale. And that's why I say it turned into a health journey. I have actually, some of my weight has come back. And the reason why is because, first of all, I screwed up my body by sticking to 1,300 calories. I'm also now it took me a while to identify, but I'm also now in perimenopause. So people compare to females to males. You cannot compare females to males. There are different hormones that come into play. And what I could get away with in my younger years, I can no longer get away with. So some of the sticking to 1,300 calories would have played a big part in screwing up my hormones. I can honestly say that. And so now I'm at a point in my life where I am working on bringing my hormones back into balance. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is I realized that the chemical-free, the non-toxic lifestyle came at me at the time when I needed to become aware of that and when I needed to start actively working on reducing my toxic load. So I also say it's not about being perfect. Please, I'm not perfect. There's lots of things I've changed, lots of things that I know I am a healthier person. Even today, even compared to, when I lost my 100 kilos, I may not look it, but I know that inside my body is healthier because of the changes I've made. I've changed my water. I've changed a lot of my food. I've still got a lot of things to change, but it is a process. I know that it will never be done. And it comes back to the small steps. I just look at changing one thing at a time. When I run out of something, I look for a better alternative. And sometimes it may not even be a perfect alternative, but it will be a better alternative. And that's how I do it. So that's the positive things I've learned.
I want to speak to that for just a minute. So the sometimes it's not going to be a perfect alternative. That goes into something that I've also been explaining a lot more. That because it's really funny. So let me share this story. So it was a few weeks ago. I went to a men's group that I've recently been involved with, and the leader of that group, he knows I'm a health coach. He knows like I do all this stuff and everything's like that. And then I'm connected to this group text with it. And so he sends a text out in the group text and he's like, okay, for the group tonight, I'm ordering a large pizza, And then at the end of that text, he's like, sorry, Ken. And I kind of rolled my eyes. I'm like, really? Really? And then I get there and I was running late that night. So I showed up about 20 minutes late. Plus I had hit some traffic. And I get there and I get sat down and everything, the welcome and all that other stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, and there's some leftover pizza over there for you if you'd like it. And I sat there and I was like, I think I'm going to have a slice. He quickly turns over to me and he's like, what? He's like, am I breaking you down? And that's a funny story, but you know what's funny about that is like, look, just because I'm a health coach, just because I'm a weight loss coach, just because I have my own program, it doesn't mean that I don't have my negotiables or compromises or different things like that. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy myself. And what I like about what you shared, Shari, is some of the choices you make, it isn't always going to be perfect. There are I'm a sauce kind of guy, for another example. I love my sauces. There are things in the refrigerator that, they have a couple ingredients in there that I'm just like, it could do without that. But it's a compromise. It's a better product over what I could have been buying, like something that has high fructose corn syrup in it. That's a non-negotiable for me right there. Anything that has high fructose corn syrup, non-negotiable. Anything that has seed oils, 99% of the stuff that has seed oils in it, non-negotiable. Now, I do have some compromises that I make. It's not always going to look perfect. Your journey is not going to be a linear path. In fact, it's not even going to look like this, okay? It's actually most of the time going to look like this. It's going to be all over the place, and you're going to just, it's comical. And I love the fact that you guys are laughing because it's comical, and you guys relate to that because that's the real life. That's the real reality. Just because I'm a health coach doesn't mean my life looks perfect. Are you kidding me? No. So anyhow, I wanted to kind of speak into that because I think sometimes with some health coaches, there's like this expectation that we're so perfect and we don't enjoy life and we don't enjoy the little things like a piece of pizza every now and then. Come on. So I just wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, I would say it actually goes for most coaches. It's not just in the health space. And I actually say to people, I put my hand up and I say, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I try, or I used to try. I've had to learn to let it go. That's one of the lessons I've learned. And I say to people, if you find a coach, I don't care in what space they're working in, if you find a coach that says they're perfect, then run the other way, because that's for most people, for a good 95 maybe plus percentage of us, that's not us. It's not human. Human beings are not perfect, and it's not real. So I'd take real any day over somebody who feels that they're perfect.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite sayings is don't let perfection get in the way of progress. And absolutely, as human beings, this is the thing. We are on this sort of roller coaster ride, this journey. And like when you said 1,300 calories, Shari, my head just kind of boggled. I'm like, if I was to stick to 1,300 calories, firstly, I'd have no idea. I'd be measuring everything. It would do my head in. Okay, so that would not work for me, 1,300 calories. So I'm really glad you said that, because some people are really anal about the calories. And it is a journey, and there's times we're going to feel like pizza. In fact, I had pizza yesterday, and it was fantastic. I loved it. I had vegetarian pizza at Currawa Surf Club, and it was delicious. So, I can highly recommend the vegetarian pizza from Currawa Surf Club. But anyway, side note, I don't have pizza every day, but sometimes I love it. And, this is the thing, and I know the pizzas in America are really good. I've heard the New York pizza particularly is amazing. So anyway, side note. So we are human beings. We are going to be, craving certain types of foods. Now, the other thing, talking about chemical-free lifestyle. Now, in the chemicals, I know we have an addiction to sugar. And this is something I've noticed, because there's times I get craving for ice cream, for example. Now, what are your thoughts about the cravings that we have for things like sugar? Which sugar is actually a natural product, but of course, refined sugar is really bad, right? So can you guys speak into that, into the dangers of sugar?
First, Shari, I'm going to let you take it, because I can be a fire hose with this one. So I'm going to because this is your spotlight. So I'm going to let you take it first. Go for it.
All right. So the first thing I will say about sugar is I want people to understand, because a lot of people don't realize this. If you are addicted to sugar, it's not your fault. There are actually bacteria in your guts that are craving the sugar. So those bacteria will send signals to your brain that tell you that you need to eat more sugar. So it's not your fault. It is a real thing. It's all science. I'm not making this up. And when I first learned about this, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just didn't even know. So, obviously it is a thing. You do have to work on it. There are some ways you can do it quicker. There are some ways you can do it longer. It's really going to come down to the person. But it is not just not having willpower. It also is too much sugar is not good for us. We know that. It doesn't matter whether it's organic sugar, whether it's natural sugar, whether it's honey, it doesn't matter. Too much sugar is actually not good for our brain. It's not good for our body. It causes all kinds of problems. Like diabetes, and that's just the one that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know that I have any more to add about that, so I'll let you go for it, Ken.
So here's the thing. When it comes to cravings and addictions, I'm about to open up a can of worms for some people. Maybe not necessarily a can of worms, but let's just say we're about to dive into the deep end of the pool. So I'm going to read to you a quote that I just pulled up. And this quote is actually in my current running educational boot camp, the level 1 of it. And so here's the quote. Listen carefully. So if you want to know what's at the root cause of emotional eating, if you want to know what's at the root cause of sugar addictions, if you want to know what's at the root cause of your hunger issues, I got news for you. It's not exactly what you may think. Here's the quote. In the 1980s and the 1990s, a seismic shift occurred within the American food industry, one that remains largely unrecognized but has had profound consequences for public health. As cigarette smoking began to decline due to the growing public awareness of its health risks, the major players in the tobacco industry, R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris, sought new avenues for profitability. These companies, facing a declining market for cigarettes, turned their attention to a different but equally insidious industry: food. In the 1980s, these cigarette giants began acquiring food companies. By the 1990s, R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris had become two of the largest companies in the world. This transition was not just a matter of diversification, it was a strategic shift in focus. These companies brought with them, listen carefully, these companies brought with them their expertise in making products addictive, a skill honed through decades of cigarette production, and they applied it to our food. As cigarette sales declined, the scientists and researchers who had once worked on making cigarettes more addictive were now reassigned to the food sector. Their new mission was to create food products that people would crave and consume in excessive amounts. This led to the development and mass production of ultra-processed foods designed not for nutrition, but designed for addiction and designed for profit. Okay, you guys, it was never about your health. It was never about nutrition. The food pyramid itself, all it really was is an advertisement. It was not for your nutrition. It was not for your health. It was an advertisement to send you back into their system to buy their industry processed foods, which then, taking it even a little bit further, which then have these foods, literally, as I read in this quote from this article, they've been designed for addictions, which means they have literally formulated processed sugars, GMOs, bioengineered ingredients, seed oils, you name it. They've come together with the perfect ingredient mixture to bring you to the perfect bliss point, not above, not below. What that means is then eventually what happens is you eventually form new neural pathways. Your taste buds then begin to change. Your cravings then begin to change. All of a sudden, now you're hooked into their system and you're actually craving those foods and you're actually craving those kinds of things. In addition to that, what's sad about that is it also creates emotional eating problems. Why? Because it brings you to the perfect bliss point, which means it touches the pleasure centers of your brain, which means now you're attaching emotions to your eating. There's a lot of people out there that are beating themselves up over emotional eating, thinking that they're the bad ones, that they just can't control themselves. What people don't realize is the root cause of your emotional eating is these industry foods. They have changed your taste buds. They have changed your cravings. And so trying to give you a little bit of hope and freedom through that, it's not necessarily your fault. Now, you do have a choice in this, and the choice is become empowered. That's how you can take control and become empowered with your food choices, is arming yourself with this knowledge and empowering yourself with what you now know and make those changes. So I'll leave it at that. I told you I could be a fire hose with this one.
That's amazing, Ken. That blows me away. You know, I just did a quick little Google, and not that Google's always, reliable in its information. However, this is what it says about what things make food addictive. And it says the foods that people are most likely to compulsively overeat tend to have something in common: a powerful combination of carbohydrates such as refined grains and or sugar and fat. So there you go. Those things in common are very addictive. And then you add to that, MSG.
Chocolate bars.
Yeah, chocolate bars. I find with corn chips, for example, certain types of chips, I just want to keep eating the chips. Yeah. And you never really feel like you're satisfied. And I'm sure this is in a lot of the fast food outlets as well, that they have a lot of sugar, they have a lot of addictive ingredients. And so people often just don't realize why they just want to keep eating certain types of food, because we are addicted without often realizing how addicted we are. And it's all in the programming. It's all in the, now there's a lot of genetically modified foods, of course. Monsanto has rolled out, which is now Bauer. It's been bought out by Bauer. probably due to a lot of court cases, I'd imagine. But basically what's happening now when we talk about chemical free, there's a massive issue at the moment with the government poisoning Australia with this fire ant eradication program. They are spraying poison, genetically modified corn infused with poison over any properties where there's more than 5 hectares in southeast Queensland. And they want to roll this $1.2 billion program out Australia-wide, which of course is going to kill organic farming. It's going to kill, even when we think we're eating healthy, we're eating vegetables or even sometimes what we call organic vegetables. I mean, how do you know actually that it's fully organic? How do you know that there's not chemicals all through our food, even when we think we're eating healthy? And I know, Ken, you're big on, turn the bloody packet over, because when it says natural and all that kind of stuff, we know often it isn't. And they don't fully reveal when they say, things like oil, vegetable oils and things. That's really bad. Seed oils, really, really bad news. You'd think something like sunflower oil, that sounds kind of healthy, right? You think, it's from the sunflower, and people often have no idea. So Shari, what's been your journey with this, with addictive foods? What are your thoughts on this?
It's a very real thing. And the science, exactly like Ken says, the scientists actually, that's their job, is to find a way to make it as addictive as possible. And that's why I say to people, it's not your fault. It is something that only you can do something about, but don't beat yourself up saying that you have no willpower and you're just a bad person because you're addicted to these things. You're meant to be addicted to these things. The first step is awareness. It's always awareness. Once you're aware, then you can do something about it. So, that's why conversations like this are so important, because there will be people who have no idea that what we're talking about is actually a thing. I never realized, I assumed, silly me, assumed that, years ago, before my eyes were opened, I assumed that if it was on the grocery shelf, it was okay. It was safe. It never even crossed my mind that it would be legal to put something on a grocery shelf that is toxic. Never even crossed my mind. And there'd still be a lot of people in this world now who were the same, who are the same, I should say.
Yes, it's absolutely disgusting. And Ken, what was it for you that was the turning point where you were so massively overweight? And I imagine when you were really overweight, you were eating a lot of crap food. What was it for you that you then decided, no more am I going to live like this?
The precipice. So I would say, it just eventually all caved in on me. Here's some examples. So at that time I had plenty of clothes, but I was literally almost down to 2 outfits that were that fit me and that I was comfortable with wearing, just around the house. And even those clothes were starting to get tight. I would constantly pop buttons off of things. When I went to conferences, I had to wear my dress pants unbuttoned and work to have the belt hide that. And I was very self-conscious about it. I, did not feel good inside my own skin. I was very self-conscious with the way I looked. And all the things. The icing on the cake was I ended up with high blood pressure and I was starting to experience pains on my left side. And I knew what that was pointing to. I knew exactly that was pointing down a road that if I didn't do something, I was going to end up with a heart attack or a stroke. Things were getting that serious. That was the big bombshell that hit me. And I mean, I didn't have to go to a doctor to know what was going on. And plus, I haven't seen a doctor in 30 years, so I'm not going to open up that can of worms. So, that was the precipice. I knew I needed to change something, and I knew that I needed to walk down a road, and I knew this time it had to be different, which is one of the reasons why instinctively I just was like, no, I don't want to go on a diet. I want to do this my way. Little did I know in the beginning how powerful that was going to be, doing it my way, because that's what's given me all the knowledge that I have now, to help free other people from being enslaved to a system that is built to enslave them.
Yeah, that's so important. And 70% of people who have heart attacks die on the first heart attack, and it can happen so suddenly. And we know through this whole pandemic time, as we've had the jab roll out, how many people have just died of heart attacks. And I mean, that as a side effect of that toxic insertion into people that was pushed by governments. And now we know, a lot of us know that was total BS, and a lot of people feel they've been hoodwinked, they've been lied to, they've had enough. And now with the fire ant program rolling out and all these poisons, it's not about fire ants. This is about control. They want to control the health system. They want to control the water system. This is not about your health. They don't care about your health. And who is the government to speak up about your health anyway? Who are they to say what you can put into your body or what you can't put into your body? However, people don't realize that every single day, potentially they're poisoning themselves by the chemicals that they're putting in their body. And this can be, I was surprised when I looked into, sodium lauryl sulfate and propylene glycol in our personal care products. How many products have got that? Even products that say they're natural have propylene glycol and sodium lauryl sulfate, which are degreasers and cleaners in our we're putting it on our skin, which is a largest organ of our body. And there's so many ways we have been poisoning ourselves. And it's phenomenal how strong the body is to be able to withstand all of this when you think about it. Yeah. Then there's chemtrails, right? We've got chemtrails happening like rife on the Gold Coast. There's, do your own research with all of this, guys. Do your own research. I just want to say a quick hello to Dena is with us from the Gold Coast. Hey, Dena. We've got MD Moshua Roman. Good to see you. We've got Tom is Lavzd has joined us on Instagram. Let us know, where are you joining us from? What are your thoughts about what we're saying here around this whole topic, the truth about a chemical-free lifestyle? So how do we really know? How can we be as chemical-free as possible, Shari? What are the things to look out for?
So, as you said, those ingredients that and I can never get my mouth around them, so well done for being able to get your mouth around them. Things, and this is what I say to people, it's not just about what you eat, it's about what you put on your body, exactly like you just said. The shampoo and conditioner that you use. Perfume's a big one. Perfume is not good. It's really not good. You want to be making your own. You can actually, for a lot of these things, you can actually make your own at home, which is a lot cheaper, and you get to control what's in it, so you know what's in it. Another one that people don't think about is air fresheners or candles. What they put in candles, and you're burning that's toxic going into your environment that you're breathing in. The cooking utensils that you use, the pots and pans that you use, the bottles that you drink out of, the plastics, all of those. Look, honestly, there's so many things, and this is why I didn't do anything for such a long time, because when you think about all the things, it just seems so overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And that's why I had to bring myself back to, okay, let's just start with one thing. Now, the one thing that you're going to start with is going to be different for everybody. I say choose the one thing you're going to start with either one of two ways. First of all, is there something that you can see is going to be really easy, quick and easy for you to change? And if it is, that's a good place to start, because when you do the quick and easy thing, that gives you the good feeling, that gives you the dopamine hit because you've ticked off a goal, and that gives you momentum to do the next thing. That gives you that good feeling to do the next thing. The other way you can look at it is to look at, okay, what is the one thing that I can change that is going to make the biggest impact? So for me, that was my water. The water out of the tap is not good. Mm. You want a better source of water. We cannot survive without water for longer than I think it's 3 days off at the top of my head, but it's not very long. We can survive for much longer without food, but we cannot survive for very long without water. We have to have water on a daily basis for good health, and the quality of that water matters. So I drink a lot of water personally. So I realized that one of the things that would make the biggest impact in my life was to change my water source. Now, I did that in stages. The first, because affordability, I couldn't at the time, and this was one of the things I had in my head was an obstacle. I can't afford it. I've since got my head around that. It was a process. So if that is in your head, I say there are other ways around that, and sometimes you have to work around that. It is a process to work through. So I started out, first of all, I got, and again, they're plastic, but it's still better than my tap water, is the big blue bottles, like the 15-litre bottles. And I would get alkaline and clean, filtered and alkaline water. It doesn't have to be alkaline. That's just what I was getting at the time from the company that I was getting it from. And then I switched when I felt that I could afford it. I actually bought my own water filter, which is a portable water filter. It actually sits on my kitchen bench, and I love it because not only does it it's gravity fed, so you put water in the top and it filters down through it. Not only does it take the nasties out of the water, it then goes through about 7 layers of minerals. So it's putting the good stuff back into the water, because that's something that a lot of people don't realise. It's not just about taking the nasties out. We also need minerals in our water. So if you can find a filter that does that, which I love it, and it's portable, so if I ever go anywhere, like if I'm going somewhere, I can actually just put it on the front seat of my car, strap it in like my best friend, and take it to wherever I'm going and pour water in it, and I've got beautiful water again. So that was what it was for me. That was the first step I made, because I knew that it would make a massive impact. So either one of those two things. And I also want to come back to there was something that Ken said before, and I want to come back to it, is that people, this is why I use the STEPS formula. So just so people understand what the STEPS formula is, when we talk about goals, a lot of people talk about SMART goals. Now, SMART goals are great. I used to use SMART goals all the time. However, I found when I was trying to make a change that I didn't have the habits behind that I needed to make the change. SMART goals didn't work. So I created the STEPS formula, and STEPS stands for small. The T stands for timely. The E stands for easy. The P stands for pleasurable, and the S stands for sustainable. So the step needs to be small, and there's no step too small. It can be the tiniest little step. It could be sitting in a meditation chair for 10 seconds if you're trying to create a meditation habit. The timely means that we want a time frame around it that is, first of all, achievable, that is realistic, and is fluid, is you might set a time. It's important to set time frames, but you might have a time frame on, just say you want to change your water source. Okay, so you say in the next month. Well, maybe it takes you 6 weeks. Okay, that's okay. The point is you've made the change. So be okay with that time frame to be flexible. It's just something to go by. And then easy. How can we make the small step, as easy as possible? Not I just have to try harder, because that doesn't work. Easy. How can we make it as easy as possible? If you're looking at making a change that feels too hard, find another one. There's hundreds of changes you could make. There will be one that will be easy. Pleasurable. The 1,300 calories was not pleasurable. I hated every single second of it. And what I say to people about that is that when we have negative feelings in our body, that creates a chemical reaction that is actually not healthy for us. So, and it's also not realistic that we're never going to have negative feelings. It's okay to have negative feelings. We are human, but you don't want to be having negative feelings every single second of your life because you're white knuckling your way through something. So find a change that is easy and pleasurable and sustainable, something that you can do for the rest of your life. Because if you are transitioning to a chemical-free, a toxin-free and organic lifestyle, it's not like you're ever going to want to go back to the chemical-laden lifestyle. So the STEPS formula really helps.
Yeah, I love that. I love that STEPS formula. Yeah, absolutely. Small steps. And you mentioned that the first step is actually awareness. Now, I heard of this 3-step process to healing actually by a guy called Ben Harvey from Authentic Education many years ago. He said 3 steps to healing. The first is awareness. The second is acceptance. Making yourself wrong about, I mean, obviously everything you've consumed to date, all the Cokes you've had, all the soft drinks and all the crap, right? And we've all done it, right? I'm sure we've all, and some people are definitely addicted to Coke, right? Yeah. And massive amounts of sugar. Or wine. Yeah, wine, which is full of sulfates, unless it's organic wine. So yes, whatever it is that you've had up until now that you've consumed, then accept it. That's the second step, acceptance, without making yourself right or wrong. It just is what it is. And now it's a choice moving forward. The third step to healing is appreciation. You now have this new information that you can now, you'd be grateful for that. And now you can move forward rather than sort of beating yourself up, or, you know, even the word forgiveness. Sometimes forgiveness, you're making other people wrong or making yourself wrong when you forgive yourself. So actually turning forgiveness into appreciation is very, very powerful. So, you know, that's absolutely brilliant information. I love that whole steps process. We've got Alfred Zerfus has joined us, one of my Mass Media Mastery members. And Alfred is actually, he's 88, 89 years of age.
Wow.
I think he's just turned 89, and he was a GP. He was a medical doctor for many years in Melbourne. And I'm sure he's finding this conversation fascinating. I'd love to hear from you, Alfred, in Instagram, what your thoughts are about this whole conversation. Rio to Marge has joined us. Myrna Widlin, good to see you there. For those who've just joined us, let us know where are you joining us from and what are your thoughts about this whole topic about living a chemical-free lifestyle and what to be aware of. Now, actually looking at the ingredients, and I must say, some of these ingredients on the packet, you need a magnifying glass to see them. They're that bloody small, and I'm sure there's no coincidences about why they're so small, because you turn it over, and I mean, the older we get, our eyesight starts to go a bit. So that's half the thing just there, is maybe take a magnifying glass with you. And there are certain apps that you can get also. I believe that you can look up certain ingredients or scan barcodes and it'll tell you what's in those products as well. Ken, do you know about that? What sort of apps you can get to look into the chemicals?
I do know that there are certain apps. I really, I haven't done a lot of research into those certain apps yet. There is one particular app I have on my phone. Unfortunately, for the state that I live in, there's not very many places that it can find, but it's, I think it's called the Seed Oil Scout or something like that. And it actually helps you find restaurants that don't use seed oils. And so that's one of them. But yeah, I know that there are apps out there that can help you like decipher like the ingredients and stuff like and things. But I haven't really done a lot of deep diving into that yet. But I wanted to share this one last thing, and this is a piece coming from my level 2 boot camp series. Level 1 is more of the foundational, you know, how the industry's been lying to you, how the industry profits off of you, the marketing deceptions and all of that. So it kind of gives you a foundation of empowerment. So now that you know all these things, now you're going to go out, you know, now you know why you're going to go out and make these better choices. My level 2 boot camp is more the practicality and application of your journey. And this is what I'm about to read here. This is coming from the level 2 boot camp. And I wrote this. And so the reason why I want to share this is because I want everyone to wrap your head around this, because this is the way it was meant to be. This is the way it's supposed to be. So first of all, I want you to think about this. Love what you eat. You might be surprised at that particular phrase, but it's true. you get to love what you eat. And I mean that in a very genuine way, in a very healthy way, in a very warm way. Okay, so I've kept my weight off for 6+ years now, and I literally feel like I eat like a king. That's not to say that I overeat or overindulge myself. Sometimes I'll admit. Um, but I really truly do love what I eat. I love the creations that I make. And you see, that's the key. It's being creative with whole foods, minimal ingredient foods, or even better, single ingredient foods, and making creations that you actually enjoy with those foods. In addition, keeping it simple. Part of loving what you eat is definitely about keeping it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Find your hacks, find your groove, find what's going to work for you. It's about falling in love with the foods that God has given us and the foods that He has designed. Falling in love again with the nourishment that those foods provide for our body. Through the worldly food matrix system, there's a lot of people that have lost that love for the foods that God has designed that actually nourish their bodies. I also want to note here that it's not necessarily about restriction. It's not about seeing certain foods as restriction. It's literally about viewing foods as fuel for your body, as nourishment for your body. When you look at it this way, you actually unlock a deeper sense of satisfaction and joy in your health journey. Loving what you eat means appreciating the flavors, the nutrients, the life-giving properties of whole animal-based foods. So let me skip down just a little bit because I don't want to read this whole thing. Otherwise, I'll be here forever. God did not design food to be a source of frustration or guilt. Let me repeat that. God did not design food to be a source of frustration or guilt. He designed it to be a source of joy and nourishment. Learning to love the foods that love you back creates a positive feedback loop. You enjoy eating, you feel better, and you continue making choices that support your health. So now let me finish with this. Something for everybody to think about. Let's go all the way back to Genesis chapter 3, Adam and Eve. What was the very first temptation known to man? What was it with? It was with food. An apple. Food, right? Jesus, after fasting for 40 days in the wilderness, what was the first temptation? It was with food. You can turn these rocks into bread. It was with food. The enemy, every single time, came at it with food. What makes you think that he is not doing the same thing to you with the foods that this world has created? He has created frustration. He has created guilt. He has created regret, remorse, all of that. He has created that in you. That is not what God has designed food to be for you. God did not design food to be a source of frustration, a source of guilt, a source of deprivation. That's not what God has designed food to be for you. So I just kind of want to throw that out there as a new way of looking at food and the choices you're making out there.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Ken. And I've just done a bit of searching in the background on some of these apps to look up, toxic ingredients in food and in cosmetic products. So there's an app called Think Dirty, Shop Clean. Think Dirty, Shop Clean. Another one is Food Additives Checker. And another one, which a lot of people seem to be raving about, is Yuka, Y-U-K-A. So for anyone who's joining us live, we've got Adam Dean Magic has just joined us. Good to see you. Anyone joining us live, let us know. Are you using an app to check for harmful ingredients? And if you are, let us know what's working well for you, because the more informed we can get, the more empowered we can get to make choices that are going to benefit our health. And at the end of the day, our health is our wealth. And a lot of people, invest their invest their health to get their wealth, and then later in life they invest their wealth to get their health back, right? So as we're going through life, if we can be conscious of this and listen to our body, tune into our body. If there's something off, if you're feeling sick, usually it's a sign you need to slow down. And this is something I've experienced with many years working in the media, over 20 years working as a journalist, and then 20 years in my own business now. It's been full on go, 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 high adrenaline. And with this high stress, high pace, high anxiety world that we're living in now for a lot of people, this can cause massive health effects on your body, high adrenal issues. And so many times I have crashed and burned through this go, 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 crash, go, 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 crash. And I've noticed it's been quite a pattern. And there will be patterns in your life where you notice there's certain times you might get sick, or you might, like I've had sciatica, and I know that was a side effect of having a tetanus shot 30 odd years ago on one side of my body, is that I've had sciatica in that side of my body. And that comes and goes at different times. But usually when you are in dis-ease, there is some kind of, there's a warning happening. Your body is highly, highly intelligent, right? And our bodies will tell us when we need to, when we need to change things. And it's same with eating certain foods. I know there's times I really feel like junk food. And how do I feel afterwards? I feel like crap after I've eaten the junk food, right? And so this thing is like, sometimes we think we want something, but then we're actually having it and we're not satisfied. Whereas when I eat healthy food, my body thanks me for it. It actually feels like it's actually been nurtured and been, looking after ourselves, I think, is one of the biggest things. Having that self-love and the self-care enough to make sure that we limit the toxins in our life as much as possible. Shari, what are your thoughts about this? We've covered a lot of ground. Now back to you, Shari.
Well, I just actually want to say something about the apps. Just now, I'm not saying don't use the apps. I actually have them in my book, although I don't believe that I put enough explanation around them. So I do need to fix that. You just need to be, they're great. I feel like they're a great place to start if you're first starting out and you have no clue. Some of them are going to help you make better choices than what you would have. They may not be perfect choices. Now, the one thing that you do need to be aware of is that, unfortunately, in this modern day where the almighty dollar can let's say, derail some really great ideas, you do have to be mindful that sometimes with these apps, there could be money changing hands that could, for some products, that could mean that some products are listed as okay when they may not necessarily be. So I would always tell people that you do want to get into the habit of reading labels.
Turn the freaking thing over.
Yep. Right from the start, you do want to get into the habit of reading labels. Don't just take what the app says for gospel. Some of the apps do tell you some of the ingredients and there's an issue with some of the ingredients and why. So I feel that aspect of it can be really helpful, especially when you're first starting out and you don't know what you're doing, because there are so many things. But I just do say take it with the caveat that you can't take it for gospel, and let it help you get started, but get into the habit very early on of starting to look at labels. And even if you just pick one ingredient at a time to do more research into, then you might find out some things that the apps say are okay are maybe not something that you decide to choose to put into your body.
There's three basic things that I commonly give people. It's all over my YouTube content. It's all over my boot camp. It's all over any kind of content that I put out. There's three basic things. Number one, turn the freaking thing over. So let me camp there for just a second. Building the habit to turn the freaking thing over is not going to be an overnight process. You're going to have to be intentional about it. You're going to have to work towards that and be patient with the process. Embrace that process of learning. Eventually, you will become the person that turns everything over. I don't care if you've been buying it for years and it's been a staple in your household. Go turn it over. You cannot, we just can't take things for granted. Not anymore, not in today's day and age. You just cannot. You cannot afford to do that. So start building the habit of turning the thing over. So that's one. Number 2, buy things with minimal ingredients. Minimal ingredients. Ingredients you can understand. Number 3, better yet, buy things with one ingredient. What's an example of that? I often kind of laugh at that. It's like, because one ingredient, what is that? Is there anything out there? Yes, there is. It is, for example, a grass-fed bone-in ribeye steak. What is the ingredients in that? 1, meat. It's as simple as that. And then, as I was kind of reading earlier, learn to take those kind of foods and make delicious creations for yourself. And that does not mean you're spending hours in the kitchen, you're cooking, because I know some people are like, well, I don't like to cook. Technically, neither do I. But I have learned little hacks and little life things that I get creative with stuff and make my own little creations. Food does not have to, even food prep doesn't have to be a food prep day like these lovely health coaches on Instagram promote and tout all the time. It's like, oh, food prep day. And they tout it as something like it's an all-day event. Oh, no wonder why people don't want anything to do with that. People don't have time for an all-day event of food prepping. Here's how easy it can be to make multiple meals within 1 hour. Buy yourself an Instapot if you don't have one. Go out and buy a family pack of chicken breasts. Put 5 of them in that Instapot. Maybe throw in some low-sodium chicken broth. And I say low sodium just because it's really easy to oversalt things and then it just tastes too salty. It's not because I'm like, oh, fear of sodium. Okay, so low sodium chicken broth, throw in some spices, throw in some vegetables, pop the lid on it, set the timer for 45 minutes to an hour, whatever the proper time is. Go multitask, clean your house, do the dishes, whatever. In an hour, you've got enough protein for 5 or 6 meals. Boom. That's how easy it can be. That's how easy it can be. So, 3 simple things. Turn the freaking thing over. Buy things with minimal ingredients. Better yet, buy things with one ingredient.
Yeah, I love that. And there's some great documentaries out there like What the Health. There's so many docos. In fact, I've got a Facebook group called Conscious Community Global. We've put a lot of good links in there for all sorts of documentaries. Cancer, the Forbidden Cures, that's another interesting one. There's lots around health. And interesting, now people drink milk and they think it's healthy. People would just... Ken's just run to the bathroom. Now people think milk is healthy and they think that that meat is healthy. Now, Ken mentioned grass-fed beef. The thing is, though, now a lot of the cattle are injected with vaccines and immunizations and all sorts of things, and you don't know really what is going into the animals in many ways. And also with milk, like I've spoken to people that have worked at dairy farms, and they said if you saw what happened at a dairy farm, you would never have milk or milk products ever again, which is also a scary thought as well with what goes into that. So there's times that we're eating things that we think are healthy, but they're actually not. So what are your thoughts, Shari, specifically around the dairy industry and around meat?
What I'm going to say is there are some people who know that this is a journey that they want to go on, but they're at this point in time, they're not ready to let go of the meat, or they're not ready to let go of the dairy. And if they feel that they have to do that, they'll run away screaming and they'll never do anything. So I want to say to you, if that's you, then please, you don't have to do that. And look, I will be 100% honest. I still eat meat and I still have dairy. In the last month or so, I've become aware of some extra things that they've been putting into the dairy. So now I need to go and check all the sources of my dairy. And and make sure that the brands that I'm getting currently, there's some brands I already know that I need to swap, and I'll be doing that. What I will say to you is that all you can do, all you have control over is doing the best that you can. And this is why I'm so focused on the Be Me, the better me every day. And it's not about being perfect. It's just about doing a little better. If you are making a choice that is better than the choice that you were making before, so for instance, I do not buy my meat from the grocery store. I'm lucky in the area that I live in, I have an organic butcher that I go and get my meat from. So when I'm buying chicken, I'm buying free range chicken. When I'm buying beef or lamb or any of those things, I'm buying organic as much as possible. And even in recent months, it took me a long time, a very long time. I only just switched my bacon in recent months, and bacon's a big one with the nitrates and things. So what I'm going to say to people is that just don't be overwhelmed. Don't make it more difficult than it needs to be. Don't put yourself in a state where you're not going to move forward. Focus on doing it. Again, it's about awareness, and then about just taking one step at a time and changing what you can one step at a time. We don't want to put ourselves into a state of panic and thinking, oh my God, what am I putting into my body? Because that's going to kill you just as quickly. I'm sorry, but that is not healthy. That is going to cause a whole heap of stress and chemical reactions in your body. It's going to screw with your hormones. It's not going to be healthy for you. So just focus on, okay, I'm aware that these are some things that it would be in my best interest, in my best health interest to change. So let's start changing them one step at a time.
Yeah, I love that. And that's right. Just do the best you can, right? And the thing is, once you have this information, I mean, even just mentioning right now, to be aware of where your dairy is coming from, what is going into the animals that you're consuming. Or, I mean, you could hear the word organic, like even organic butcher. I mean, might be an organic butcher. However, have they ever given their cows any certain chemicals that might have helped them grow faster? Like the chicken industry, for example, I was horrified to look into with chickens that a lot of the places that chickens are in, it's where we think hormones. It's free range. We think that the hormones, like the way that they grow these chickens in 3 to 4 weeks to butcher them, whereas chickens are meant to live for several years. So this is, and I've been looking at a lot of the next generation are massive. There's lots of really tall, like teenagers now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people have been eating like hormone full meat for years, and it's actually got a flow-on effect to, I think, how a lot of people are now.
It does, definitely.
And what are your thoughts about what to look out for how do you know when you're going to an organic butcher, how do you know it's actually organic? What are some questions to ask the butcher, perhaps, or to look out for, to actually know that you're getting meat that's actually not full of chemicals?
Well, I think one of the things, so for me, one of the current concerns that I have with some of the products that are out there, some of the meat that's out there, one of the concerns is are they injecting the animals with the mRNA vaccine? And that's a big one for me. And hormones is another big one. You want to try to stay away from those as much as possible. Now, I'll admit, like, we don't necessarily have an organic butcher in our area. So, but I do my best to get grass-fed beef. I don't always get grass-fed beef, admittedly so, but I mean, it is what it is. Again, it kind of goes back to the same thing that Shari says. It's a one step at a time process. And, I am not perfect with all my choices at all. Um, but when it comes to like places like this, and even there's some great places you can order from online. The one of the main reasons why I haven't really, dove into that aspect of it yet is a lot of these places require you to do a monthly minimum, and I just don't want to be locked into something like that. So trying to find a place that I can just order from whenever I want and however I need. Um, that's a bit hard. So, but some of the concerns that, I would, just ask about is, are you vaccinating your animals? What kind of feed are they getting? Is it a GMO feed or is it natural feed? For example, eggs. A lot of people think free range eggs are good. A lot of people think cage free is good. And the reality is they're not. If you're getting eggs and you're an egg person like I am, I love my eggs. Um, what you want to be getting is pasture raised. Why pasture raised? Because that is the only brand that actually has a special certification stamp on it that the farmers are regulate. They have to treat the chickens better. The chickens have to get a certain amount of sunshine. The chickens have to be able to graze on the real grass and bugs and the stuff that they're supposed to be eating. That's part of the certification. Pasture raised eggs are the only ones that have that certification that guarantees that the chickens were treated that way, got the proper amount of sunlight, had enough room to actually move around, wiggle a little bit. Cage free. What I want you to picture with cage free is a room with no cages that is absolutely so crowded with chickens they don't even have time, they don't even have any room to move. That's what I want you to picture. It might as well be one big old giant jumbo cage with thousands of chickens in it.
Yes. And
That's
they never
not good.
No, they never see the light either, these chickens.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I saw in Food Inc. I've just put the link here for Food Inc. Definitely, just look up Food Inc. You can watch the whole documentary for free online. It will blow your mind. And in there it shows heaps of barns in America where there's all these chickens in these massive barns. They don't see the daylight. They get fed genetically modified food often. They are so plump they can't even walk. And every day they're just taking dead chickens out of this barn. Like it's just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. You watch that, you probably never want to eat chicken again, or definitely not that chicken. And with pasture raised eggs, we don't actually have that. I haven't seen that classification in Australia. That might be an American thing. We have, free range. Cage eggs are really, really bad. I know cage eggs, with cages, they have 4 chickens on one A4 size space, and they have them on a slope, and they just end up with horrific injuries. It's one of the most cruel animal things you can ever see. Animal cruelty to the max. If you buy cage eggs, you are supporting a very, very cruel practice. And I would imagine in a lot of places that you're eating out, perhaps the McDonald's of the world and the fast food places where you're eating eggs, I would imagine they're not going to be using the best quality eggs. They're going to be using cage eggs. So also, if you buy any egg products from a lot of these fast food places, you're supporting a very cruel practice. You're supporting animal cruelty. And if you look into it and look into what happens to these chickens, it will turn you right off. I'm telling you, you need to get informed. You need to get empowered around this. Otherwise, you are. And the things we take on, that anger and that sort of aggression and that upset, that fear that happens in these animals when they're treated so badly, we take on that energy when we eat that food as well. So this is all things this is other forms of chemical toxicity that can happen in how we are. We talked about water earlier, right? The fluoride in the water, that calcifies your pituitary gland, which is your third eye, which gives you insight, etc. So we are being dumbed down all the time by these evil people in authority. Now, last night I saw Gladiator 2. Now, if you've seen Gladiator 2, pop into the chat. It was the second time I've seen it, actually. And it's interesting, if you think about how the Romans lived in 200 AD, you think about history.
And what happened in history? From the beginning of time, there have been evil forces at play. There have been evil forces that have been ruling whole villages, right, and whole cities, etc. And it's the same to this day. We have some very evil people in government and in the health industry that do not care about your health, and they will lie to you repeatedly through their brainwashing propaganda, through their advertising campaigns, etc. And we have been lied to so much. Ken mentioned the food pyramid. How much have we been lied to about so many different things that we think are healthy, like milk? They say, oh, it's good for the calcium, right? And that's not the case either, right? So do your own research, because if you really want to know what's happening in the world, follow the money trail. Anyway, back to Gladiator. There's a point in Gladiator, and I don't want to give the whole story away, but there's a point where there's these two really evil emperors. And then it turns out one of the emperors dies, okay, without giving too much information. And they actually make the monkey second in charge. There's this little monkey that used to hang out with the second emperor. And the emperor that's left then says, okay, second in charge is going to be this monkey. And it's actually, I thought about that afterwards. I thought, this is actually very similar to what's going on in reality in the world right now. It's like, which monkeys are in charge in government, which government, of course, mind control, right? What kind of monkeys are actually governing the world? And if we believe what the monkeys are saying, then, potentially we could end up dead or very sick, right? Because of believing. And we saw this all through COVID. We saw how many people believed the government, and we saw how many people died or got very sick through that time. And now more and more people are starting to question things. Now the fire ant poison is rolling out. It's been killing dogs, horses, cows. It's killing our pollinators. It's killing our food supplies. It's killing organic farming. And now people, and they're mandating it and saying, if you don't put this poison in your yard, they're knocking on people's doors and saying, we're going to fine you $15,000 if you don't put this poison in your yard. They're not calling it poison, by the way, but there's been no environmental impact studies done. And from all that we can see right now, it's poison, all right. And they're saying to put it in your yard even if there's no fire ants, because they're saying they could be under the ground, right? And so if people fall for this, if they're gullible enough to fall for this, well, don't blame us if your animals die, right? Don't blame us if you're eating pesticides in your food, because it's now in your soil, which is going to go through your food. If you have any farming at all, any sort of garden at all, then you're actually poisoning, you're poisoning the future, the ecology of the planet. And we've seen what's actually happening with the government is spreading the fire ants. It's killing all ants. One of the best things to combat fire ants is other ants. And we saw this in America. You can kill fire ants with hot water, but of course there's no money in hot water, is there? There's no money in that. So who's profiting from all of these things? Who's profiting? That's the question you got to ask, right? And of course, there's nothing wrong with profit and making money, etc., but not when it's at the expense of people and of the planet. If we don't have the planet, if we don't have our animals, if we don't have people, then we're going to have wastelands. And that's the way we're going to go if we keep going with this apathy that is going on in the community right now. I don't know about in America, Ken, but in Australia, there's a lot of apathy. There's a lot of people that know about what's going on, but they're too scared to speak up. They're too scared to do anything about it, right? And it's time that we stop that right now. And that's it. I'm going to get off my high horse. I get very frustrated. Back to you guys.
I want to speak. I want to speak a little bit more into eggs too. So the cruelty of the chickens and the way that they're raised and everything else, yes, that is definitely something to be extremely mindful about, and try to stay away from that. But here's the other reason why you want pasture raised, or you want whatever that means in your country. Here's the reason. Look, eggs are literally a superfood. Literally a superfood. And I'm going to go as far as to say that's probably in itself an understatement. Okay? Eggs have all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients you need. They have everything except for vitamin C. They have all 9 amino acids. They have everything. They are packed. They are nutritional packed. And even with the price raise on eggs, the inflation around eggs and stuff like that, they are still a cheap option for your buck. They are a big bang for your buck is what I want to say there. So when you're getting pasture raised, you're getting that nutrient. So if you're getting the normal white eggs at the store, or the cage free, or the whatever, you're getting the cheaper egg, you're not getting those nutrients. You're not getting any of that. when you get the eggs from chickens that were raised properly, had a proper amount of sunlight, ate the right things and stuff like that, you are getting that superfood nutrition. So that's another big reason why you want to make more empowered choices around eggs, because they are going to serve you very, very well. And yeah, I don't have a lot of time to go into all the benefits around eggs, but I've done a lot of research, and there are so many benefits to eggs, as well as eggs are proven to prevent heart disease. Did you know that? Oh, wait, that's right. You've been told that it's the opposite, that eggs cause heart disease, that eggs cause bad cholesterol, that eggs are not a good choice. I'm telling you the exact opposite is true. If you do the deep research like I have, you're going to find that eggs actually are beneficial to your cholesterol. They actually stop heart disease. They prevent inflammation in your body. There are so many benefits around eggs. But to get those benefits, you have to buy the right eggs. The eggs from chickens that were raised humanely, decently. So anyhow, that's all I will say on that.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Ken. Love that. Now we are coming to almost the end of the show. So
Shari's got something she wants to say.
I just want to say one thing. Just it's a distinction that not a lot of people know about. So I think it's important to say a distinction. There's a distinction between grass-fed and grass-finished.
Correct.
So some people might see grass-finished and think, okay, yeah, I'm good. But grass-finished just says that they were fed grass last, whereas for the first
their whole life, they were
their whole life
GMO.
Before that they could have been fed whatever. You've got no so if you want grass fed, not grass finished.
Thank you.
Better yet, actually, if you can, it's not very easy to find. But if you can find meat or breads or eggs that are both grass-fed and grass-finished, now you're in premium quality. But that's not as easy to do. So if you can't find the both grass-fed and grass-finished, grass-fed is good.
Beautiful. All right. So do your own research with all of this, guys. We're not, trained doctors or, trained sort of, well, I guess you guys have probably done some training around health, but,
we're just thought leaders in being health coaches.
Yes, there you go. So do your own research with everything. We've got Alfred Zerfus here, who was a qualified GP and doctor. He says, see the movie by the Marx Brothers called Monkey Business. Okay, that sounds great, Alfred. Thank you on the point about monkey business going on in politics and in the health industry, and in fact, most of our products are full of chemicals and they are killing us slowly. All right, they're killing us slowly, and it is a choice day by day, moment by moment. Back to the first conversation here today on this show about taking small steps, right? It is a choice every moment to turn the freaking thing over, turn the packet over, look at the ingredients, right? To be conscious about what you're eating, to how you feel after you eat certain foods, because your body will tell you if it's toxic as well. You'll know. Like, I know there's certain foods I eat, I feel bloated. Like when I have certain types of bread, I feel really bloated. I feel tired. Where there's other types of bread I eat that I feel great. It energizes me. So notice what works for you with your body and what feels good for you as well, and get informed to get empowered. Now, Shari, final thoughts, and then I'd love to hear how people can work with you too shortly. So Shari, back to you.
What I want to say is, as a final thing, is that it really comes back to your why. One thing that I learned on my own journey, and that was the light bulb moment for me when my journey first started, was that I had a really strong why. It was a why that would just make me do whatever I needed to. It didn't matter what I had to do. My reasons why to make the changes were just suddenly there, thank goodness. It happened naturally. and I was able to do whatever I needed to do. We've already said some of those things were not necessarily healthy, but you now know more than I knew when I first started. So if you are struggling to make a change, come back to and identify what your why is. And the saying I have around this is, I'm going to give you two sayings. One is, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough, is the first one. And then the second one that I'm going to say to you is that many small steps add up to massive change in the end. I lost 100 kilos just by taking small steps, a lot of small steps, but you get there in the end. So that's the two things I want to leave with.
Beautiful. And how can people connect with you, Shari?
So I'm on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, even on TikTok. Recently, I do a podcast, which I also put on YouTube as well as podcast platforms, and I do a weekly newsletter, which are all small things that will help you to create a better you. One thing each week, one small change that you can make, or one small thing that you can implement into your life that will really help you. So will you put the link in the show notes?
Yes, we've got an up on the screen there. If you could just share about that link there.
Okay, so I'm giving you my resources link. There's a lot of resources in there. I just put everything there. There'll be things that speak to you, things that don't speak to you. There's some free tools there for you as well. When you go to that page, if you scroll down to the health tools, there's a lot of I've created some free resources for people to really help them. There's a brain-friendly organic meal planner. If you want to get started there, that's probably a really great place to start. There's a healthy habit creation planner. They're all free for you. So if you need help to learn the science behind creating habits and taking those small steps, there is a science behind it that you can utilize. That's a good place to start.
Beautiful. And for those on the audio, on the podcast, it's Shari Ware, ShariWare.com/resources, spelled RESOURCES. Or in America, you say Sherry, right? I've heard you call Shari Sherry over there. So, tomato, whichever way you go. So connect with Shari there. And thank you for those resources. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Shari. And Ken, how can people connect with you, and any final thoughts?
So, final thoughts, you guys. Keeping it really simple. Turn the freaking thing over. Buy things with minimal ingredients. Better yet, buy things with one ingredient. That is a great place to start. So if you start anywhere and you forget about buying this sort of meat and buying that sort of meat and all this, if you just start there, that is a simple way to start, and that will give you an empowered jump start. Turn it over. Buy things with minimal ingredients. Buy things with one ingredient. Start there. That's going to give you a big jump. Now, it's not going to look perfect in the beginning. You get to give yourself grace. You get to embrace the journey of learning, of growing, of getting better. That's what those challenges are for in your journey. The plateaus and all the other things that come with the journey. Oh, those frustrating plateaus. Plus, trust me, I know exactly what they do. I know how they mess with your head space. I had one that lasted about 6 to 9 months, and trust me, it drives you nuts. But you eventually get out of it. When you embrace the journey, you don't throw in the towel, and you grow through those times. You learn. You get stronger. That's a concept that is unknown to a lot of people that are stuck in diets. And I want to free you from that concept. And the concept being growing through the difficult times, growing through those challenges. When you go on a diet, you literally skip that part of the journey. So in other words, you skip the part of becoming, which is the part that produces more permanent results. So that's what I'm going to say as far as my last resorts. Keep it simple, one step at a time. Now, in regards to how you can connect with me, so you can go to my website at www.masteryweightloss.com /coach. Connect. And in there, you're going to find 4 links. At the top of the list, you're going to find a link to my mini educational bootcamp, which you've heard me allude to. I've read portions from my bootcamp series on this show today. And so, look, I'm giving away my 3 secrets to help you break free from the sugar addictions, the hunger issues, the snacking issues, finally lose that last 20 pounds, break free from that emotional eating, all of it. In 3 short one-on-one sessions with me, you will be equipped with an empowered mindset. Number 2, you will be able to see past the industry lies and avoid the common pitfalls. And number 3, you will be able to see past the marketing deceptions that this industry uses on you. They put it all over the packages. They make you think what they're buying is great and healthy and everything else. Oh, it's only 140 calories. Oh, it doesn't have any of this. It doesn't have any of this. Oh, it has fiber. Marketing deceptions. I help you to see past all of that, all in 3 one-on-one sessions with me. So if you want to find out how you can join that, in my my connect link, www.masteryweightloss, spelled exactly like it sounds, masteryweightloss.com/connect. At the top there, you'll see a button that you click to join my bootcamp. It normally goes for $97. But for this holiday season, it is for $75. Only for this holiday season. Now, if you're watching the show and you happen to come on and it's not the holiday season and you come on and, and my boot camp is at a higher price, you missed out. All right. So, but join my boot camp. It is only $75 right now. And that is an absolute steal for what you're going to get. And I promise you, you will walk away empowered. Aldwyn did. Aldwyn went through my boot camp and she walked away very empowered.
Yes.
So, yes. And then also on that connect link, you'll see a link where you can book a free discovery call with me. So if you still got questions or you just want to connect, book a free discovery call with me. You can't lose with that. Except for those extra pounds. You can lose those extra pounds by doing that. And then there's a link in there to connect with me on Facebook, and then go subscribe to my YouTube channel. You guys, I am trying to build that up. There's a lot of great video content on my YouTube channel that you can get a lot out of as well. So the YouTube videos, it's just a great way you can make some small changes right there, is dive into those. My quote for today, it's not necessarily a quote, but nonetheless, it's very powerful. It's this: the more we remove toxins from our lives, the more we align with the way God intended us to live, thriving in His creation, not surviving in man's manipulation of it.
I love that, Ken. Thank you so much. There was lots of wisdom there. And yes, your boot camp is amazing. And I turn the freaking thing over all the time. Every time I pick something up. And it's amazing, the things that I used to eat a lot of that I thought were healthy. And then when I turned it over, I went, oh my gosh, they're actually not. Even things like almond milk has got vegetable oil in it. Certain corn chip packets, getting the cheesy flavor has actually got more chemicals than just the plain corn chips, for example. And so just even little things like that, making those small changes, massive difference. So yeah, absolutely vouch for your boot camp, Ken. It's amazing. And that's $75 US, which is about $100 Australian. It's a steal. You'll change the way that you eat and buy things moving forward. It's very, very insightful. Ken does a lot of research. We call him Fact Finder, Ken, as well. He's a fact finder, Ken, but also he's very much a fact finder. We love it. Thank you so much, Ken. And for those who want to connect with me, go to my Linktree /Aldwyn's got all my links, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. At the top there, you will see I have an event on January 3 called Propel Your Profile in 2025. And there's a great way. I'm going to give you all sorts of tips on how to build your brand, how to attract more clients magnetically and easily through your marketing. So definitely hop along to that. It's a free workshop, 11 a.m. on January 3, Australian Eastern Standard Time. That'll be 12 noon for those in Sydney, Melbourne, etc. Also, we have the Global Good News Challenge that happens every single month. I'm currently doing my December challenge, which is 12 days in a row of sharing gratitude and good news. And the whole idea is to help decrease depression and suicide rates and lift the energy on the planet with more gratitude,
and good news. And so I challenge you while we're in December. You can start anytime within December. It is free marketing for you. In fact, it costs us money to do this because we share your videos out across our socials. You can win prizes. It's an awesome thing to do. You will feel amazing, and people get clients from doing it all the time. That wasn't the intention of it, but people are getting clients because they're actually stepping up, speaking up, they're connecting with their audience through live videos. So all the details are at the top of the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page, and I invite you to do that. And shout out to Karen Clark, to Moana Robinson, to Jenny Moot, who are just some of our Good News Crusaders over the last month that have been doing an extraordinary job. And I love watching your videos. I feel so good when I see people sharing gratitude and good news. And I must say, for me, it's been a practice to overcome my own depression by actually, since June 2020, actually practicing gratitude I do it daily actually, but actually practicing monthly on where you're speaking out what you're grateful for. It shifts your whole energy. It's very, very, very powerful. And I'm sure it would help reduce toxins from your body by getting into gratitude as well. I'm sure there's science around that's kind of like grounding. Getting your feet on the ground is very good for your metabolism, etc. So grounding is another big tip. And also check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe there if you haven't already. We have had a few strikes on my YouTube channel. In fact, just recently we had another strike. So I think, okay, there's definitely some truth in what we're sharing, because we're getting these fact checkers are still coming out of the woodwork and still wanting to censor certain information. However, you will still see on there 1,400 videos or so on my YouTube channel. And I also have a backup YouTube channel now. So just in case. But yeah, check it out. We've got lots of great content. You'll check out all of our other Total Truth Show episodes as well on there. And there's a link you can book a call with me as well on there, linktree/Aldwyn. I look forward to connecting with you. And my quote today, I've got one here from David R. Brower, and it says, the more we pour the big machines, the fuel, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fertilizer and chemicals into farming, the more we knock out the mechanism that made it all work in the first place. Isn't that a good quote? And another one of my favorite, I'll read that one again, actually. It's a bloody good one. David R. Brower, the more we pour the big machines, the fuel, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fertilizer and chemicals into farming, the more we knock out the mechanism that made it all work in the first place.
Yep.
Very, very powerful. Another one of my favorites is by Hippocrates. It is, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Absolutely love that one. We are about to wrap up here. We've got a quote here. Alfred Zerfer says, replacing iodine with bromide, which is cheaper, is causing iodine deficiency and mental performance. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, thanks. That's from our Dr. Alfred Zerfers, our 89-year-old. He is now, I'm sure he's 89, just turned 89 in Melbourne, one of our Mass Media Mastery members. And we do have a program too, if you want a Mass Media Mastery program for those who want to get out there and be seen, heard and known, then let's connect about that. So Alfred's one of our members. Replacing iodine with bromide, he says on Instagram, which is cheaper, is causing iodine deficiency and mental performance. Interesting. Thank you for that, Alfred. And for those who've joined us, thank you so much. Everyone who's joined us on the live, Darlene Geiger, Jill Smith, Nurture Connect Play, Don Martin, Thomas Love, Alfred, of course, Rio to Marge, Myrna Widland, Adam Dean Magic, Eating Mess, and for those on also Facebook, the ones that I can see, I know there's a lot more of you out there, Denna the Connector from the Gold Coast, just up the road, MD Mashia Roman as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone who's joined us live, huge thank you to you. Please let us know your thoughts on what we've talked about. What has been something that you've got out of this show today? Let us know. What are the gold nuggets that you've learned from this show today in the comments? We always love to hear from you. And let us know also where in the world you're joining us from. Final thoughts. Shari, Ken, before we wrap up the live stream. Ken's a no. Shari, any final thoughts?
I'm just going to say, just remember, one small step at a time, a small step. Make sure you enjoy it as well.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much. And our next show is going to be a Christmas special. We have on December 20 at noon, or around noon, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And for those in America, it's going to be December 19, around your 5:36 p.m. roughly. Is that right, Ken? On the 19th?
Yes.
We have a special show. We have about 8 guests coming on, people that have appeared on Total Truth Show through the year, and Shari's going to be one of them. Some other people that we have confirmed right now is we have Nick Cree, we have Michelle Slight is going to be coming on, and Jax Malili. So there's some of my guests that we've got. Ken, who else have you got coming on that show?
Stacy Michaels, who we had on our show a while back.
Yep.
Firecracker of a person. I get the pleasure of seeing her at the gym every week. So
right.
That her Francine Ivy is also going to be coming on our show. She is confirmed as well, and she's amazing. She's my coach and mentor, and she's just absolutely amazing. So she's going to be coming on. And then, like you said, Shari's going to be returning back on for that episode. And our topic is going to be the truth about standing in your power. And it's going to be powerful. Everybody that we have on that show that's going to be coming, you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a powerful show.
Yes, and that'll be our episode 88. So there's no coincidences here. The magic of number 8, and I live at a number 8 house, and 8 has always been a lucky number. We've got the Good News Day on the 8th of the 8th, 18, and here we are, episode 88. It's a Christmas special. Come and join us then, December 20 at noon, Australian Eastern Standard Time, or around 6 p.m. on December 19 for those in LA area. All right, much love. Thank you so much, Shari. It's been amazing having you as a guest on our show today. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, and so much wisdom shared in this show. Let us know what you got, guys. If you've enjoyed it, share the love. Who knows, you might actually help create a healthier world by sharing this video. And definitely check out Food Inc. as well, and some of the amazing documentaries that we have in our Conscious Community Global Facebook group, which you'll find in my link tree there. So check it all out. We'll see you next time here on Total Truth Show. Thank you so much for joining.